Hello and welcome to another video. So about 10 years ago when I was 14, there was a bunch of different book series that were very popular. So there was the Harry Potter books, the Twilight books, the Percy Jackson books, and I read all of the popular ones except for these. This book is like 380 pages. So I'm gonna read about 50 pages a day. I kind of put these little tabs in at the 50 page marks. So I want to finish reading this in like 10 days. So just like first impressions on this book, I don't know what it's about. I've read the back before. I know it's, shadow hunters and magic and demons. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it, and so I'm going to start reading it today. Okay, so I wasn't gonna update yet until I got like a little bit further into the book, which is why I'm not camera ready, but I got to this part on page 66, and this is when Clary first meets Hodge and she goes into the library, and just the description of Hodge. Okay, so I understand that this is YA and everything, but like, let me just read it to you. Clary stifled a gasp as he rose. For a moment it seemed to her that he was strangely misshapen. His left shoulder humped and higher than the other. As he approached, she saw that the hunch was actually a bird perched neatly on his shoulder. What? What? How far away was this man where he can have a conversation with her, but she couldn't tell there was a bird on his shoulder? It was just some weird lump on his shoulder. What? And it's not dark either, because she can see the books and she can tell how old and worn they are. What? I don't know. It's such a weird thing to get stuck on, but I'm stuck. All right, I'll give another update later. Okay, so I just got out of the shower and I was listening to City of Bones in the audio version. Okay, so I'm on the part right now where Clary, Simon, and Jace went to Luke's house and they kind of listen in on the conversation he has. So here's my impressions on Luke. He told Clary not to come to her and he was like really mean about it. And then listening to the conversation he had with those people, he made it seem like he was very indifferent to Clary and her mom and like he didn't care. They're like really trying hard to make you think that Luke is a bad guy, but I don't think he is. Like, I think he's doing this stuff to protect her. Like, he knows, I look crazy. Well, so he knows that the people were gonna come for him and he wanted to keep her safe by telling her not to go to him. And by telling these people that he thinks that she's dead is just a way to also protect her, right? I don't know. I think that Luke is a good guy secretly. Okay, so I'm on page 165, and I kind of have some thoughts on it that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit. So first, there's a couple things that are bothering me a little bit. The first is Clary's constant comparing herself to Isabel. Like, I understood in the beginning when she was actually wearing Isabel's clothes, and she was kind of feeling uncomfortable because they didn't fit her the way they fit Isabel, or they just didn't really fit her at all. And I understood the comparison there, but since then, it's almost like she's jealous of the way Isabel looks and she wants to look like Isabel. And it's been happening since the beginning of the book and I don't love it. Like specifically on page 163, she says, she changed into cutoffs and a plain black t-shirt. If only her thin freckled legs looked more like Isabel's lanky smooth limbs. I don't love it. I'm not usually one of those people that's like, oh, characters in books need to have self-love, but this is like a YA book and it's being read by young females, and for young females to think that they should constantly be comparing themselves to somebody who's better looking, I don't love that about this book. The other thing, I don't like Jace. I just don't. There's so many things that he does that just annoys me, and his whole demeanor, his whole attitude, I don't love, and I don't understand it either. So I get that he's that like arrogant, sarcastic, annoying guy. I get it. But then why is he also so concerned with Claire? That concern doesn't make sense to me, doesn't really seem to carry over. Also, who is Hodge? Like, who is this man? Like, he's the only adult in this world that we've met, And like, I don't get his whole character at all. Like, he doesn't really seem to be helping at all. Like, these children, like Jace and Isabel and stuff, seem to be kind of independent enough where they don't even need Hodge. So what's his purpose? I don't know. I feel like his character could be doing more. And then things that I do like. I like how fast paced this is. It's like just boom, boom, boom. It just keeps going. But I'm loving the world that they're creating. And some things kind of seem a little cliche, but I feel like cliche is not the right word. It's just like predictable, I guess. Like, we kind of only have one option of who Clary's father could be. Like, we know it's not gonna be, I already forgot his name. I don't know, the like uncle dude in the beginning. But we knew it wasn't gonna be him because, like, why would he pretend not to be her father but still hang around and pretend to be her uncle? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So we only really have one option of who could be Clary's father. But so far right now, I'm really enjoying it. It's not like, wow, this is the most amazing book I ever read. I'm probably giving it like 4 stars right now. But yeah, it's interesting and I'm enjoying it. I'm on page 299 and I'm at the part where Clary and Jace just rescued Simon from being a rat. Like, he's no longer a rat anymore, and they like did the whole motorcycle thing, and now they're in the infirmary. And Alec came to Clary basically saying like, you should go home, you're putting Jace at risk and stuff like that. And he says something. So Clary was all like, no, Jace does whatever he wants, I don't control him. And Alex says, you don't understand, you don't know him, I know him. He thinks he has to save the world, he'd be glad to kill himself trying. And then he says, have you no idea what he's done for you, what kind of personal risk he's taken? I'm not just talking about his safety, he could lose everything. I don't like that. So we've only seen Jace being sarcastic and rude to Clary. We've never seen him actually being kind. Supposedly he's taking all these risks and stuff, but a lot of these risks are also his ideas, so it's not Clary's fault if he's on some kind of suicide mission, right? Like, it just feels a little toxic the way Alec is coming at her, blaming Clary for Jace being a martyr. So Clary is even like, she's thinking about it because Alec calls her selfish. And she says, rage rose up in her like a black wave against Alec because he's partly right, against everything and everyone else, blah, blah, blah. Against Simon for nearly getting himself killed, against Jace for being a martyr and not caring whether he lived or died. That kind of hero martyr complex of Jace has nothing to do with Clary. Like, there's no reason why his actions should be put on her. Like, she didn't ask him to do anything, so it's not her fault. I don't like that. All right, I am so sorry that every time I make one of these updates, I look like a complete mess. Like, this is just how I normally look. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. I'm on page 340, so I'm like 70% of the way through the book, and I was actually just listening to the audiobook version of this while I was doing a workout. That's why I look especially like a mess right now. But so anyways, I'm having a problem with some of the phrasing and stuff on this book. I'm at the part right now where Clary and Jace just kissed, and then they walk back to Clary's room and Simon was in there, and Simon walks out and sees them. And then Jace gets upset, Simon gets upset, everybody's mad at Clary. One, the kiss from Jace was completely out of nowhere. I have no idea where this romance was happening. Like, I didn't see a romance anywhere. Two, Simon doesn't have any kind of right to be mad at Chloe. Two, Simon has no right being mad at Clary because he never told her his feelings. So how is she supposed to just read his mind and know that he wants her? She can't. She can't. Hold on, Hodge said something that I don't like. So Hodge says, where there is feeling that is not requited, there is an imbalance of power. It is an imbalance that is easy to exploit, but it is not a wise course. Where there is love, there's often also hate. They can exist side by side. Hodge said that the same thing happened with her mother and Luke, where Luke was like totally in love with her, but he never told her. And so she just continued living her life because she didn't love him in the same way. And so she married somebody else. And Luke was upset about that and now hates her. And now Simon's doing the same thing? Excuse me? This is not Clary's fault. This is not the mother's fault. For Luke and Simon to hate the person they love because they never expressed that love and they never told them, hey, I love you, I want to date you, that's not the woman's fault. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm sorry I'm yelling. It just actually frustrates me. Like, the way that this book talks about women is kind of so toxic. And for this to be written by a woman, what is going on? All right, so I'm on page 391 and I'm having another issue with this. So I'm at the part where Luke is kind of giving his whole backstory and explaining everything about him. And well, first I just want to say, like, I knew it. I don't exactly remember when I said it, but I definitely said that Luke is secretly a good guy. Luke says that he was in a group of people that were kind of like under Valentine's wing, and he was like really nice to them and stuff and kind of helped them. And then Valentine's father died and he came back with like a lot of rage. And it says, the only thing that could calm his rages was your mother. She had always stood a little apart from our group, sometimes mockingly calling us Valentine's fan club. His pain awakened her sympathy. They fell in love. I loved him too. He was my closest friend, and I was happy to see Jocelyn with him. Didn't Hodge just say that Luke was in love with Jocelyn, but she spurned him because he never told her he loved her, and then he was mad when she married Valentine? I know Hodge is like a deceptive liar. Also, I knew there's something shady about him. Like, I definitely said that recently. I don't know if this is an inconsistency or if this is just somebody's lying and we want to believe Luke because Luke is better than Hodge. Am I reading too far into this? The part where Valentine goes crazy, and when Jocelyn says the name of her son is Jonathan Christopher, I kind of thought that that might end up being Jace. And then there's children's bones in the fire, so I guess not. That's actually crazy that he would kill his own child. Like, up until now, I thought Valentine was kind of like a Scooby-Doo villain, but like, he's actually a monster. Listen to this. She was carrying another child and had known it for weeks. She would make a new life for herself and her baby, and she wanted no whisper of Claver covenant ever to taint her future. I called it like a while ago. I don't know if I said it, but I definitely implied that I thought Clary's father was Valentine, and I think the second baby is Clary. I mean, who else could it be? So I've been having a problem with the audiobook version of this because it's kind of just all over the place, especially because I've been reading along with it at the same time. Look at this paragraph right here. So I'm going to play the audio version real quick.
But the Wayland ring. The ring, said Valentine, looking at Jace's hand, where the ring glittered like snake scales. I see you've begun wearing it again, Jonathan. Just in the last few days. Funny, isn't it? How an M worn upside down resembles a W.
And here's what it actually says. But the Wayland ring. Ah, yes, said Valentine, looking at Jace's hand, where the ring glittered like snake scales. The ring. Funny, isn't it, how an M worn upside down resembles a W? It has nothing to do with him calling him Jonathan. I don't know where they got that from in the audiobook, but, like, I feel like that gives away spoilers. Okay, so I just finished the book, and I was putting it on Goodreads, like, that I finished the book, and, like, I was writing my review and everything, and then I was reading a bunch of other people's reviews to kind of see, like, if he had some of the same thoughts, because, I don't know, I really like reading other people's reviews on Goodreads. Anyways, I just found out that this was turned into a movie, and so I figured it'd be really fun to just, like, watch the trailer of that before I give my final thoughts. I'm actually watching it from Sony Pictures Entertainment. This has like 6 million views. Anyways, let's watch it.
Everything you've heard about monsters, about nightmares, legends whispered around campfires, all the stories are true.
Nobody gets stabbed in the plot. They like go into that secret room.
What are you looking at?
Oh, I don't like Simon. Oh, they could have recast Simon better.
Not a mundane.
I don't like Jace either. They could have casted him better too.
Not a human than one am.
Your mother is a shadow hunter, like you.
I've been hunting demons across the world in their varying different forms.
Shadow hunters.
Half angel, half human. Beings of immense power. Strong enough to restore balance.
Cops were never involved in the
Protect the
book.
world in a war against evil.
What is it about her? She's different. She's gonna get us all killed.
There's a map inside your head, Clary. You are the key to our survival.
There's too many of them.
Have a little faith.
Isabel with the fire?
Welcome to the City of Bones.
Did the people who make this movie read the same book that I just finished reading? Okay, that just looks so incredibly different. I don't like the cast for most of it. I kind of like the cast for Hodge because I like that actor. Okay, I'm gonna give my final thoughts in just a second. Final thoughts on this, I ended up giving it 3 stars. Originally I was gonna give it 4 stars, but there's just so many issues with this that I actually just can't. Starting off with things that I liked, I really liked the world that was built. The story was entertaining and it was interesting. I really liked the pieces of the story, even if like they didn't feel very cohesive going together. There's actually not too much that I did like. So going into the things that I didn't like, I'm gonna start with the characters. I didn't really like any of the characters. I kind of liked Simon, but he's so flat like the rest of the characters that it's hard to like him too much. Like in the whole love triangle situation, I was definitely team Simon. And I wish he had a bigger role because I thought that he was a sweet character. Clary I found to be annoying and pretty unstable. She was like... I didn't like Jace. I thought he was arrogant and annoying. And towards the end of the book, I really, really very much did not like him. Like the time when it's Jace, Clary, and Valentine all interacting in that like one of the ending scenes, Jace is kind of like, bro, can you get it together? Like, what happened to the macho-ness from the beginning of the book? I don't know, I kind of felt like that was a little uncharacteristic. Like, I could kind of understand it, but since the characters are so flat, it's hard to justify it. So, moving on from Jace, I didn't like Isabel. She was flat, rude, obnoxious, didn't like her. Didn't like Alec because I understood where he was coming from, but again, he's such a flat character. We didn't get to see why he was behaving the way he was. Like, we can kind of see little sprinkles of it. I'm hoping that these characters get a little bit more fleshed out in the next couple books. For the adults, like every single one of the adults was deceptive and at some rate manipulative. Like I didn't like a single adult. I wanted to like Luke because he kind of reminded me of like Lupin from Harry Potter, but like I just couldn't like him. Moving on from the characters, another problem I had was the love triangle. The only kind of romance that I saw happening was happening from Simon to Clary. There wasn't any other romance I saw anywhere. So when Jace kissed Clary, it felt so abrupt and so out of nowhere. And then like all of a sudden they're like boyfriend, girlfriend, and they're like madly in love, and like I didn't see that anywhere. It's just like, oh yeah, they're in love now, just believe it. But then they're brother and sister. That whole incestuous plotline didn't need to exist. It didn't. Clary could have had a different father. Jace still could have been Valentine's son without them being brother and sister. Like that actually didn't need to happen. And if that needed to happen, they needed to be brother and sister to further the plot for the rest of the books. They didn't need to kiss. Like it wasn't necessary. That bothered me so much. Alright, so another problem I had with this was the writing itself. Like, one, it was just, there was a bunch of silliness. Like, the whole thing with Hodge, when Hodge was first introduced, when the bird on his shoulder, and Clary's like, oh, is that a weird hump on his shoulder? And she, like, thought he was misshapen. Like, that didn't make sense to me at all. And that happens throughout the book. Every time, like, natural lighting is introduced, or it's, like, slightly little bit dark, Clary's suddenly blinded. She can't see anything. Like, one time they're fighting inside of a building, and somebody opens the door to the outside, and the natural lighting momentarily blinds her. Like, she can't see shapes, she can't see anything. Like, that doesn't make sense. No, that's not how real life works. No. But the biggest kind of writing issue I had with this was the switching of point of views. Most of this is through Clary's point of view, and then there's a random chapter through Jace's point of view and another random chapter through Luke's point of view. it didn't fit and it kind of was distracting. Another issue I had with the writing, like I know I said that one was like my biggest issue, but this is just like another issue, is it seems kind of ripped off of some other stories. Like there's so many similarities to Harry Potter, to Star Wars, to so many other works of fiction, and I get it. Like this is a YA fiction and nothing really is original anymore, but some of the things were a little too similar. I also read online that there's a lot of gossip going around about Cassandra Clare like getting in trouble for plagiarism and stuff. Like I don't know how true that is. I just know that there's people out there that believe it is true. But you know, take it with a grain of salt. It's the internet. People say whatever they want. So one of my last issues with this was how feminism plays a role in this. I really didn't like the way that women were portrayed in this book. Starting with Isabel. Isabel is described to be beautiful, whatever, and she's like the only female in this group before Clary arrives. And then like all of the adults are just gone, they disappear. And so somehow Isabel needs to take the role of cooking and taking care of these men. I had an issue with that. And then how Clary sees herself in comparison to Isabel, I had an issue with. Like Clary's constantly comparing herself to Isabel, like constantly. And I get little comparisons because she's a teenage girl and teenage girls do that. But when it happens over and over and over and over again, it's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, like Clary learned some self-love because you're not Isabel, you're Clary, so be Clary. And then it was also how the men treated Clary. Like they were very much, this is your fault and here's why. Like it's very kind of manipulative and almost like can these men take responsibility for their own feelings and own emotions, please? I definitely had an issue with that. I'm sure other people would read it differently, but that was really distracting for me. There's like a number of issues I had with this book, and there's also like a significantly less things that I enjoyed from this book. But I did enjoy it. I would see myself continuing on the series, but I don't see myself prioritizing that. So I don't know, like if you really, really like this video and you want me to do the same thing for book 2, I can continue the series. But yeah, it's not going to be a priority. So just let me know in the comments what you would want to see. But I had a lot of fun reading this and I had a lot of fun making this video. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.